Hello and welcome back to Primal Attraction. I'm your host, Melamality, and today I'm going to be talking about this kooky thing that happened to me. So I've literally just got home from work. I'm still in my coat actually, but I just felt so compelled to tell this incredible story that literally just happened to me about an hour and a half ago. So all in all, today has been a fucking weird day, right? So this morning I picked up my vision board from the printers because I had one made. I chose to be really intentional with it, and they gave it to me for free, which in itself was like, okay, that's a lovely surprise. And then I carried on with my day. I received this text and it was like, oh, sorry I missed you. We're really excited to let you know that you've won our prize. And I was like, shit, what? And then I saw it was from a photographer. Like, maybe a week or two ago, I just randomly clicked on one of those Instagram competitions. God knows why. But for a boudoir shoot. Now, this is an incredible opportunity. I'm all for it because I've had this massive fear of lingerie and like being in the nude in the company of others for a long time. I say that with a pinch of salt because of my history, but still, I don't think I've been able to fully embrace who I am. And this seems like a God given opportunity to do just that. So that was weird thing number two. And then weird thing number three. I left work like any other day and I was walking past the local shopping centre. I thought, maybe I could get a frame for the poster that I had made this morning. That would be quite nice, but it's a bit spenny, like, is it worth it? It's just going to be up for a year. I can tape it to the wall. It's fine. I pop in anyway because I feel like it's what my soul is telling me. Follow your soul is one of it's my phrase. It's what I say to everyone in every situation where I feel compelled to do something. I just say, follow your soul, follow your soul. So I followed my soul to B&M. Yes, B&M. I'm walking around the shop. I'm not really thinking about the frame, but I'm just walking around and I completely miss it. I'm about to leave. This worker's bent over at one section and I just go, fuck it, let's just ask. Go up to her and I just say, where are the frames? Aisle 9. Okay, cool. I go to aisle 9. I see it's chock full of frames. God knows how I missed it. And this older gentleman looks at me and smiles very sweetly. And then I start to kind of look at the mirrors and he looks at me again and he says, you can help me with this. I'm like, okay, what do you need help with? I see 3 or 4 pictures of his grandchildren in his basket and some photo frames that he's trying to pick out. He explains to me that he's struggling to figure out which one will be the right fit. Which frame should he go for? He wants matching. A gentleman of taste, evidently. I'm explaining to him that the one that he's chosen, the frame is too big. Like the mount, you'll see like the white lines around the photo, and the cut lines. And we kind of ponder this for a while. We look at other sizes, and he goes back to the original frame, and he says, "What's your name?" Melanie. What's yours? Ashok, means king. And I was like, okay, cool. And he said, Melanie, sometimes in life, you can't have it all. You can't have a checklist and tick every single thing off. People often do this with themselves when they're looking for other things in life, whether it's the job, whether it's the person, whether it's the thing. They will look at that thing and they'll say, it has this, but it doesn't have this. And then because of that one small thing, you will disregard all of the good. People do it, but they forget to do it to themselves sometimes. They'll have this checklist for everything else and everyone else, but then when they start to look at themselves, they can't face the truth, so they don't do it. Anyway, we go back to the frame and he's like, I can make this work, it's fine, I'll go with this one. We then move on to another frame. And he's like, oh, I don't want to cut this one, how's it going to look, whatever. And he starts talking about the checklist again, and like noticing what we have. And he says, oftentimes now people will look at what they don't have in their life. I have to be very grateful for the fact that I have 6 beautiful grandchildren. I've got 3 wonderful sons, 3 daughter-in-laws. I have all of this family, but I don't have a wife. My wife passed away in 2015. And we're talking. And he says, you have to be so grateful for the things that you have and not focus on the things that you've lost, because everything around you is so bountiful. There's no point living in the misery and the suffering. It was at this point where I started to realise that this was one of those divine moments in life. I've had a couple in my time, and every now and again I'll have one of those moments where I've accidentally landed in the perfect place at the perfect time to receive some kind of learning that I really needed, that I didn't know that I needed at that present moment. When that man smiled at me the first time, the reason that I felt safe and smiled back was because he looked like my dad. He was an older gentleman in his late 60s, white hair, of South Asian heritage, wearing a black coat just as my father did, still had a head full of hair just as my father did, and just like, the big nose, just mumbling about, just a funny, typical gentleman like my father. And I continued to carry on helping him. I saw more and more of these things that my dad would do, and I said to him at one point, I was like, you really remind me of my father. Everything that you're saying is like what my father would tell me. He passed away 2 years ago. I think it is 2 years, well, almost 3 years ago now. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. We exchanged the typical sorries for the people that we've lost. And he turned around and he said, how old was your father when he passed? I said 67. And he was like, oh, I turned 67 in March. I was like, oh, his birthday was in March. And we had like a bond, we hugged. I teared up a little bit, but anyway, we continue on our hunt for the frames. And then he tells me another profound piece of information. He says, Melanie, here's another one, here's another gold nugget. Diamonds can cut diamonds, but dirt cannot wash dirt. And what I mean by this is, if someone does something bad to you, there is no use doing anything bad back to them or holding a grudge or holding resentment, because it's not going to do any good for you or the other person. Good things will create good things. Bad things will be bad forever. So always do good where you can. And then anyway, we keep on hunting for frames. There's a lot of frameage going on here, right? And by this point, I've completely forgotten why I was there. I've lost hope for my own frame. And if anything, I'm kind of like, right, I feel like what I've needed to do has been done. I should go. It's getting late. I need to drive home and get petrol. And then he looks at me again. He looked so like my father. It was insane. It was insane, down to the hands. It was wild. And he says, Melanie, there's so much suffering in the world. My dad was a huge believer in life is suffering. There is nothing more. There is nothing more. He was miserable. My father was a miserable old git. This gentleman was like my dad, but he'd transcended and he'd let go of his suffering and depression and anxiety and all of these things, and he was just whole. And he says, Melanie, there's so much suffering in the world, and there's so many bad things. There's so many wars. There's poverty. There's all these terrible things. And I know that you're the kind of person that wants to fix those problems, right? I say, yes, of course. And he said, you will never be able to fix those problems. I say, okay. And he says, shall I tell you what you can control and what you can do? And I say, well, I can help myself. And he says, no, not even that. You can just live without hurting anyone. Don't hurt anyone around you. Don't do mean things. Be nice. Be kind. Just don't hurt. And in doing so, you will improve the world around you. And then anyway, we come to a conclusion of his frame shopping. And we're saying our goodbyes. And I'm like, I should leave now. I need to go home. He says, you haven't bought anything. What did you come for? I said, I came for a frame as well, actually. And he said, did you not look? And I was like, I don't think it's here. I'm looking for a specific size. And he says, no, look. And he stops with me and he's like, okay, what do you need? And I explained to him I need an A3 piece. As he goes to start looking for an appropriate frame for me, he turns around and he says, Melanie, you came here to buy something. I distracted you by asking for your help. And in helping me, you forgot what your own needs were. He said, never do that. Always remember to help yourself before you help anyone else. Make sure that you have what you need before you give. And he was so right when he said that. I often think of this analogy of when you're on a plane and say you're in some kind of circumstance where the oxygen masks need to come down. They always tell you, put your own mask on before you put your child's on or someone around you's on, because you need to make sure that you can breathe in order to help other people. But anyway, he's pulling out frames for me now, and he's like, oh, this one. And I find one, and I'm like, oh no, this is the one that I want. Yeah, I think this one. And he's like, oh, which one? And he picks up one for me, and I say, I think the one that you've got in your hand's perfect. Yeah, I'll get that one. So he's holding it and he's not letting go. And I'm like, right. Okay, I feel like he's going to buy this for me. I say, Uncle, I can take that, don't worry. And he says, no, darling. Let me buy it for you. I say, are you sure? Yes. Please. It's only £7. It's nothing. He buys it for me. This whole transaction felt like I was in a shop with my father on his best of days. I felt so at peace. And he went to pay. He whipped out his Tesco credit card. My dad was a fucking massive Tesco fan, for anyone that knew of him. He pays for it. Like, his energy was just, it was insane, right? And we leave the till. He's very like, check the receipt. My father was very pedantic like that as well, and packing everything. And he's like, oh, all this stuff, I don't really need this stuff. I can't, if I forget this, it's fine. I just need the pictures of my grandchildren. And goes to the side, make sure that he has everything. Once everything's packed, he opens his wallet and he does something that my dad, I've never seen someone else do. My dad always did this. Opens his wallet, taps on his card to make sure that it's there, closes it again and puts it in his pocket. And then we leave. But just before we go, another thing that my dad would do, he made a conscious effort to say thank you and goodbye to the cashier. So he like stopped, waved, said thank you very much, and then departed, said thanks boss man to the security guard, and we left the store. He continued to leave some profound information with me, told me that everything was going to be okay, that I'm going to find love one day apparently. I'm a great girl, he was my husband, whatever. And I started welling up in front of him. I could feel it and I was like, right, I should go. I wished him well. He said, have the most beautiful life, and that was it. And I shed a couple of tears driving home, and it was one of those moments where I was like, there has to be someone up there. There has to be. Because that was all I needed. That was all I needed today. Today has been weirdly one of the best days of my life. And it's been so abundant, and it's been a reminder to not be scared of that abundance if you receive it, and just to take it with a warm heart, open heart, and be kind and be slow, and remember not to get angry with people quickly. And everyone's got their own stories, and everyone's got their own shit going on, and just give people grace where you can, and just be calm, present, and kind. I just felt like that was a story that needed to be shared. And I hope to tell more stories like that in the future. I'm praying that there's something there that you can take away that's pretty cool. Please let me know what you think of this story, and anything that's happened to you like this. It would be really wonderful to hear those little serendipitous moments that you've experienced in your own lives. Otherwise, remember to click on, I'm terrible at this bit, remember to click on that little notification bell to get notified as to when the next podcast is released. Press follow to keep track of the journey, the life, and just pay it forward. Be kind, and hear people out. Hear the people out that you don't, expect to have anything in common with. Because it's crazy how similar we all are in the weirdest ways possible. And with that, have a lovely morning, evening, night, whatever, wherever you are. Bye.